How the 9 to 5 hustle culture sucks the life out of you completely. I want to talk about why more and more people are just getting burnt out entirely by the corporate America system that we're living in right now, and why less people that you might have noticed, even either just when you go to work or just in general, why less people are they don't seem as, I guess you could say, they're not as talkative. They look exhausted. They constantly look tired all the time. And why less people are just kind of are enjoying that, life right now, right? So ultimately, with everything going on right now, of course, we're more divided than ever before. You have the cost of living crisis. You have, inflation, and then, less people are getting married and having kids. And all of that, I believe, stems from both the cost of living crisis that we have right now, where everything is just just crazy unaffordable, just out of control, and then you have the constant hustle culture that everyone seems to be trapped in, right? So the average American right now goes to work 40 hours a week at a job that they don't enjoy doing. I would say most people, just in general, don't enjoy going to work. So you work 40 hours a week. And, as a young person, you were promised, hey, if you, finish school, you get a high paying, job or career, and you work really hard at a position, then you can make a living and, support an entire family. And so that was what we were promised when, all throughout our years in school. And so I vividly remember when I was like in, middle school, right? There was a day where we were like sitting in the computer lab, and I think one of the teachers or someone like handed out like this pamphlet to all of us about going to university, and like she was talking about like why you want to like start thinking like in advance, like about what you want to do with your life, right? And someone in the classroom just kind of out loud just said like, oh, I don't want to go to college, or I don't want to go to university. He kind of said in like a joking matter. And then I remember someone in response said to him, oh, well, if you don't go to university, then you're going to be working at McDonald's for the rest of your life. Just kind of jokingly said that. And so that was the narrative that I kept hearing all throughout my years growing up. Hey, you got to go to university, you got to get this high paying position. And if you don't, and you just, then you're going to end up working this average job, as if like working at McDonald's is like a bad thing. But it's kind of like seen as like a job where typically only like you want to have, like if it's like your first job, if you're like 16 years old still in school. And a lot of people just kind of look down on a lot of positions. And so I think now with the way everything is, it's kind of like, it's almost seen as a way where it's like if you work any job at all, then you're kind of you almost feel like a loser in a sense. And I've definitely felt that at positions that I've worked at before, where I'm like, man, why am I here of all places? And the biggest issue with right now is you work at these positions, but it's barely enough to live on your own with how expensive everything is, right? So I've noticed quite a lot of people that are around my age that, even when they're working, 40 hours a week at a job, it's barely enough to live on their own. And that's if they manage to get a place, if they get like a good deal on something. But I noticed as apartments keep going up, like even one bedroom apartments are starting to cost like $1,500 to $2,000 a month, which is absolutely insane. In my case, I got this place that I'm at for about $1,175 a month, so I got a pretty good deal, and it came furnished. However, I know most people are not, lucky enough to get, a good deal like that, right? So I've even looked at my local area, and I noticed apartments like on average are around, $1,500, $1,600, $2,000 a month. And, then you got to go through the whole process of furnishing your place, right? So it's just another whole burden that you got to worry about. Then you got to verify that you make like 3 times the rent. And then you also got to verify that you have a good credit score. And it's like, how is anyone able to meet those requirements when the average person is making like what, 17 bucks an hour at a job, and then likely you also have to pay for transportation. So unless if you walk to work, like how I used to do when I lived with my mom, then you are likely going to have your own car. That's a whole other expense you got to worry about, or you got to pay for Uber rides, and that adds up quite a lot. So to live comfortably on your own today is a very difficult thing to do, and I would of course recommend that if you want any chance of, I guess, being independent, then or you want to maybe have a chance at supporting an entire family, I think that really the best approach is minimize expenses as much as you can. So if you are okay with living with parents and maybe just saving up money that way, then or you're content living with parents for a bit, then that's of course one thing that you could do. But otherwise, I would of course recommend to try to build as many income streams as you can. I don't mean doing multiple jobs at once, but I'm mainly talking about maybe go 40 hours a week at your job, and then on top of that, maybe consider looking into some sort of side hustle you could do, maybe an online business, or try pursuing a trade or something like that. I don't know. That seems like those are really the best options for the average person right now, is just try to start something online, see if you could either work remotely, because if you are able to earn US dollars online, then the benefit is you can live and work wherever you want. So I would say that's probably the best path for the average person right now, and then see where you could live where the cost of living is much lower. So look at other surrounding cities near you, and see if there is a city nearby that is either much lower cost to get an apartment, or consider looking into either living in your car, living in your RV. Just position yourself in a way where you don't have to be working 40 hours a week at a job. I think that's really the best thing that you could do, because what I keep seeing is people who work these positions, they're just not really getting ahead. And so you're not really making enough to where you can comfortably even save money, unless if you happen to live very minimal and you don't really have that much expenses. So I would say try to, again, minimize expenses, but make as much as you possibly can. That is really the best thing that I believe young Americans that are entering the workforce right now, especially, can do to really get ahead to the best of their ability. So that is what I want to talk about in this video. Hope you found this helpful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see how I'm earning an income online and also building multiple income streams, and you could check out the link that I have down below, and you can learn more about what it is that I do. So hope you enjoyed, and take care. See you in the next one.